previous course record holder and the world record holder in the marathon, tragically lost in that road traffic accident, and him and his coach. So that was a real tragedy to the sport, wasn't it?
Yeah, we witnessed his debut here 2 years ago, and that run, that victory really set him up for those 3 amazing marathons between December of 2 years ago and when he broke the world record in Chicago 14 months ago. So yeah, we still very much associate Kiptum's with this race, which is when he really came to fame.
So we've got 2 very strong fields. The elite women are going to be chasing some very fast times. There's reports, aren't they? It keeps getting faster and faster about projected times. Is that women's course record under threat today?
Well, the organisers have been talking about course records or targeting the course record in both men's and women's races. Personally, I think that the women's course record set here 2 years ago is probably within reach of Megatu Alamu. She's the leading female in today's race. The men's course record from last year, Cisse Lemmer's 2:01:48, probably a bit harder by comparison, but yeah, both records are being attacked in the 2 elite races today. There is the graphic for Megatu Alamu, the leading female, age 27, ran her best time just earlier this year in London, and has been incredibly consistent over the last 2 years. Got a 2nd and 3rd place finish in Chicago. So they're the course records we mentioned. So those are the world records, actually, and the course records for Chicago, Berlin, London. Valencia sits 4th in the all-time list of course records. That's Cisse Lemmer's time from last year, and in the women's division, Valencia actually sits 3rd in all-time course records. Obviously, the world record set just 2 months ago in Chicago by Ruth Chippengatich. But Amana Barisa's course record from 2 years ago, actually Tigist Aseva 2:11:53. So I doubt that they'll move up in those rankings, but it just shows how fast Valencia is, one of the fastest marathons in the world.
Isabel Bat-Doyle on the screen in front of you, and it was 20 national records set here 12 months ago. And that is something that the organisers would love to beat. We had 60 people getting Olympic standards. The Olympic standards, or the world standards, have moved on from those Olympic standards this year. 2:06:30 for men and 2:23:30 for women. They're the standards to be in those reckonings for the World Championships in Tokyo. But yeah, there's a lot of people with an eye on those national records.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to be focusing on the elite, but there were, thousands, over 35,000 runners entered here, and many of the, let's say, the good club athletes who've come here from right across Europe and further afield, they're looking for best times. I read somewhere that over 5,000 people had gone under 3 hours in last year's race. So Valencia has really built its reputation as a course for running fast times and personal best times. Evelyn Chirchir, one of the top Kenyans, 2:22:11. Well, the race organisers have been talking about getting the most ever athletes under 2:20 in the women's race. I think they had 7 athletes go under 2:20 2 years ago, and that's another target that's been set by the race organisers to see if they can go a little bit better this year.
Yeah, the pacemakers are going to be set with some steady times up front. And there's multiple pacing groups, and there's going to be groups formed, as you said, by just the sheer numbers out there. It is the big race almost to close out what has been a fascinating year. And that Ruth Chapman-Gadich world record just a few weeks ago. So there's the evolution of this Spanish national record. Novel's breaking that record last year, 2:05:43. Carlos Mayo's in this year, isn't he, Richard, with maybe an eye on that as well as another couple of other very, very talented Spanish athletes.
Yeah, it's a very strong record that was set here. Tariku Novala's last year, 2:05:48. And on the women's side, Maida Mayouf, she broke the national record, 2:21:27. Actually, her best time is 2:21:01, which was when she was running for Morocco 2 years ago. So it was between her Moroccan national record and Spanish national record that she switched allegiance. So we've talked very much about the course and how fast it is. We're going to have a look at the course that the runners will cover over the next couple of hours, starting here at the Marathon de Europa and heading down towards the port, past the venue used for the 2008 America's Cup, Valencia Marathon, and then going along Malvarosa Beach up into the University District, and they do a slight out and back before heading on to the Blasco Ibanez Avenue, and then up past the 10-kilometre point, and then go on to the one big avenue, the Valladolid Avenue, and then swinging back down towards the well-known football stadium, the Mestalla Stadium, home to FC Valencia, and then back onto the Blasco Ibanez Avenue, and then comes back down towards the beach area at the halfway point. And it's at that point that they head north out back towards the city centre and along the very famous, what's known as the garden route, the Jardí del Turia. 28k, they go past the Torres de Serranos, and then they zigzag their way down into the old town, down the Calle de la Paz, past the town hall, and then heading out west out to the Biopark, which is the zoo in Valencia, and then at 36k, they turn left, coming back into the old town, past the Bullring and the famous old North Station, the Estacio del Nord, 38k, and then they swing past the Porta de la Mar, 39.5k, and then through Gulliver's Park, which will bring them back down into this spectacular setting for the start and the finish in the Ciudad de las Artes y las Ciencias. There's the route unchanged from last year.
Yeah, and as we saw one of the graphics that came up earlier, well, look at that, there's almost no elevation on the course. And we had the graphic also of the conditions as well, and almost absolutely perfect. If there is a thing as perfect marathon conditions, it's pretty much up there. And that's why the runners flock here from all around the world, and it's not just the elites, it's the masses as well. It's on one of the bucket lists of those runners looking to get a fast time, looking to get a race experience. And what a great setting here, Richard, for the start and the finish.
Yes, the start is on top of the bridge. It's a couple of 100 metres away from where we're sitting, right by the finish, on top of Monte Olivetti Bridge, actually modelled on the New York Marathon, which starts on the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Not quite as big, this bridge, but that's where the runners will start in a few minutes' time. And as we mentioned a few minutes ago, there's going to be a commemoration for the victims of the flood before we go to the start.
Kenenisa Bekele, one of the world's fastest marathon men of all time, so decorated on the track, multiple Olympic champion, world champion, and was back to business last year with second place, or this year I should say second place in London, but it didn't quite go to plan in the Paris Olympic Games, 39th there, but he's back again, and he says he's not going to retire, Richard, until he breaks the world record.
Yeah, still full of confidence and still hugely motivated to not only improve his best time to a 1:41, but to get close to Kiptum's world record. There he is, Kenenisa, an amazing record going back over 20 years, 3 Olympic titles, and a best in the marathon set in Berlin 5 years ago, 2:01:41. And they're the leading female athletes, led by Magetu Alamu. So 3 athletes have run under 2 hours 20, but Mark Roach, the elite athlete coordinator, a couple of days ago was talking up the possibility of more than 7 athletes trying to go under 2:20.
Yeah, American interest in there. Sarah Hall has been training, I think, with Callie Thackeray in Flagstaff. So what can Sarah Hall improve on? I think it was around about 15th in Boston, 18th in Chicago. But looking to be competitive today.
si ens en peu al sencer, que nostra veu la llum salude d'un sol govern. En ofrenar noves glòries a Espanya, tots a una veu, germans vinga.
So the anthem of Valencia, we are just less than a minute away from the start of the race, and in a few seconds they're going to have a few moments of silence just before they fire the gun, and James and myself will also be silent in those moments.
So we're off. It is the start of the 2024 Valencia Marathon Trinidad Alfonso EDP. This is a sight to see. 35,000 entries, the world's very best runners